things at all on the FBI?
Yes, I did. Quite a bit.
What's
Quite
the
a bit.
website, John?
Oh, my website is, hold on. Let me just show it. There it is.
Oh, I see.
I don't know what you're looking at. You break the ads, you see it all the time.
There it is. Yes, in 2013, when they put a guy over there in charge named James Comey. You might know who he is. And so I left in 2013 when they put him in charge. Real bad person. Very, very bad person.
My
Okay.
son works in the FBI. Part of the counterintelligence.
Oh, yeah. James Comey and all his people. They were all globalists, cabal, scumbags. All very bad people.
Obama?
Yeah, Obama, Trader 44. Yeah, he was developed by them for a long time.
John, who do you think Q truly is?
He's just, it could be General Flynn.
It's military
It
intel, right?
It could be General Flynn.
Yeah.
That's my best bet at this point. Or it could be a couple of other people too.
Could be multiple people, though, possibly.
Yes, it could be a small group of people.
I had to get your take on it.
Yeah, but Q is real, and Q is the future. So, yeah, Q is definitely,
Words.
yeah.
Nice.
And
He's credible. Q is a credible person.
oh, absolutely, he was the most credible person there is.
Who's that, Flynn?
It's possible that if you're asking if he's a single individual, he could be General Flynn. It could be General Flynn. It's possible. But
Thank
we
you.
don't know for sure.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've had that issue, and I'm so short, you know.
Who's this coming in here?
Are we?
Who else is coming in here? Oh, Rex, awesome. Awesome. Okay, make sure I got everything. Yes, we do. Cool. Rex is coming now? Awesome. Cool. All right, I gotta go down. Cool, man.
I mean, over there, you're off to the side, right here, I'm like.
All right. Time for the awkward silence. Let's see here. This bad boy's plugged in to right there. I'm unplugging this. Is that the right one? No.
You should just have to plug your HDMI.
Yeah, it's not even plugged in yet. Perfect.
Yeah, you're good.
That's just what I wanted. All right. Okay. Okay. Wish we had some like elevator music or Twilight Zone or X-Files. Can anybody whistle good? Okay, cool. Who's that guy? the legend, Diamond. All right. So this is in a place called Sankawi. And I wanted to start off because we're going to be talking about the Anunnaki and possibly the ant people that the Hopi talked about, the Hopi prophecy. Anunnaki means ant friend. And Diamond and I went to a place called Sankawi in New Mexico and a place called Bandelier. You probably, anybody heard of Bandelier or Sankawi? Few of you have. Okay. Well, Sankawi is not as well known, and it's an area in New Mexico that looks like it was built by ant people. It's very small rooms. They're multi rooms, and you'll see that the biggest room I wouldn't even be able to stand up in, and I'm 5'7" with boots on. So there's also petroglyphs in the area of what looks like ant people with antennas, and they're hanging out with what you can clearly see are normal people, at least with the petroglyphs. So it looks like they're almost saying, we were here, we made friends with you, and then I don't know what happened, some type of cataclysm. But there's also a bunch of petroglyphs that show cataclysmic events, and people have thought that they were like aliens or extraterrestrial. There's a gentleman by the name of Parat that has done these experiments with plasma and has been able to duplicate many of these petroglyphs. So where I'm going with this is I think that at one point there was a civilization that is actually, I don't know where they went, of what's called the small people or the Anunnaki, the ant people. And then you've heard of the other Anunnaki, Sumerian tablets, which are giants. So there's all these different cross references. So I'm going to show you some footage of what I think are remains of a civilization of at least 15,000 years ago in New Mexico. And let's get started right here. So you can see in this image, this right here, which looks like something was carved into the rock. Now, the official story is people walked for so many thousands of years that it made this pathway. But we think it has something more to do with water.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And okay, if this is the petroglyph, there's a petroglyph on. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites right here. I was just talking about this one. So, here's the guy with the antennas. This guy here has no antennas whatsoever. I'm going to show you another image in a minute, which looks like little Jimmy to the the very far left here. That's got antennas as well. So it looks like, and they're all happy, they're all smiling, and it's like there was this full story that they were telling people on the way into this town, into this civilization. So something happened 10, 12,000 years ago that wiped out the majority of these remains. But some of them are still in New Mexico. And I think there's also megaliths in Montana that I want to confirm that actually weigh more than Stonehenge. We're talking like 80-ton blocks on 4 other rocks. I mean, just very bizarre stuff. So anyway, to make a long story short, something I feel happened 12,000 approximately years ago that caused these people to go inner earth or go somewhere. And I don't mean like the center of the earth, but I just mean they built into the earth. And let me see if I can find a better picture on this, because this is really important. Okay, now right here, this is showing where they're doing some kind of, Diamond's kind of pointing this out, where they were grinding something in here. And this isn't really the good stuff. Let me get to the good stuff here. Okay, here we go. Right here. Notice the antennas on the one guy. You see that? Oops. Right there. See the antennas?
Mm-hmm.
You guys see him?
Yep.
Okay. There's no antennas on this guy. Notice he's middle height. There, he's also got a different shaped head. It's not as big. And look down here. Look at this guy. Look at it. He's got little antennas. What does that mean? And they're all happy. They're not, they're not saying, we're coming to destroy you. Like there's so much Hollywood stuff where, and here's the thing, I don't necessarily think they're aliens. Shrooms. Yeah, well, shrooms are different. You'll see clouds laughing at you. You'll make all sorts of fun stuff. I'm not, don't mock you. But anyway, so I think that this right here is showing clearly there was another civilization and they helped the humans survive this cataclysm. And let me show you some more images, and we'll get into the buildings in a second here. You see right there, there's the whole thing. And then there's these crosses that have been etched in there. Okay. Then you see these stairs that you go up to. This is the top here. But what I think happened was when this cataclysm happened and they went inner Earth or wherever they went, you can start to see some of these openings here. And doesn't it look like a big anthill? And they started digging into it. So here, I think they're telling us a story. And I think that after the cataclysm happened, those that survived came out and they attempted to recolonize the area. And they don't know they don't have these same technologies. So now you see, and here it is right here, Sankawi ruins. So you'll see, arrowheads and a lot of remains from different cultures after the fact. But I think a lot of these megaliths and these ancient sites, the Anunnaki, and look at this. This is another interesting anomaly. This guy's just pointing out right here is like some type of worship center. And I think that when the ancestors used to worship stuff, I don't think they were just worshiping for a belief system. I think there was some type of energy grid that was connected to the water, that was connected to their structures and the ley lines of the planet. And I think they were using vibrational stuff and frequencies versus what we're using now with the fuels and such. It was just a completely different reality. But where it gets really interesting is when we start looking at Dulce, New Mexico and Archuleta Mesa, and these are just some pottery and stuff that's left out there it's just all over the place out there. That I feel is from a civilization after the fact, a civilization that came out and they're rebuilding. And now we'll get to some of these. I want to show you these rooms. Flip through this here. Look at this, like these weird, just great. How did they do that? How did they put those in there? Okay, let me do this. Let me make it faster for us, guys. I want to. Here we go. Here's the rooms. So, and you'll notice that they've also got these lines in here, like they were following the sun. And there's certain holes at specific areas where the sun will come in and hit. And there's this one room that looks like it's for a midget, like somebody that's maybe 4'5", and it's designed as a person. They go in there, and most of these rooms are very small. And I've talked to the locals in Dulce, and their grandparents, their natives, have told them about the small people and how the small people have been there longer than we have. And so if you've heard the Dulce story, the Archuleta Mesa story, how there's some underground base there. I know there's a lot of woo-woo out there. You can go on the internet and they're like, oh, look at all these bases. And it's a bird's eye view of the school. It's literally the school out there. But the Archuleta Mesa, you can talk to a lot of locals and their ancestors and their family. So there's some very mysterious stuff out in that area. But when they talked about the small people, I started to think about the small people. Well, the Greys that are referred in Hollywood, they're small. They're not very big. And you've heard everything from their clones to it's not real, it's swamp gas, to it's a government project, to they're from Sirius. There's all sorts of different theories. But what if the Greys and the small people, or the Anunnaki, the Aunt people that helped us at one point in time, are actually from here? They're here. They're not from out there. And the remains we're looking at, these are the remains that we're looking at of their civilization. I mean, look at this. How did they build this 15,000 years ago with arrowheads or with whatever kind of primitive tools they were using? You can see these holes that are specific locations in there. And if you go to Bandelier has the same thing. And they're very close. These are some petroglyphs. This arrow that's pointing up. And I need to remember, has anyone ever been to Newspaper Rock? Okay, it's pretty cool, right? All those petroglyphs and stuff. And yeah, Moab, yeah, absolutely. So you go to Newspaper Rock, and in Newspaper Rock, there is a petroglyph, huge wall of petroglyphs. And there's this one that looks like a lady that's wearing a dress. And it looks like the dress is like steps, like a pyramid steps, right? And then underneath, you see this arrow. And then if you look to the left, so, okay, let's say that this is where the wall is, the wall of petroglyphs. And you can see this petroglyph of what looks like a lady with an arrow that's underneath her. Well, then you flip around and you look out at about the 11 o'clock position, and there is this monument. If you've ever been to Monument Valley, you've got the mound, and you got the rock that comes up like that. That looks exactly, in my mind, that's what they're showing. And they're showing there's some kind of entrance underneath it. It's like some kind of treasure map. And it's all connected in the four corners area. And there's also these petroglyphs of all these lightning bolts and these big giant centipedes and stuff. And they're plasma bolts. So I think that event that happened about 14,000 years ago, when there was all sorts of civilizations here. I mean, even the Smithsonian has released several different types of people. and they hide a lot of stuff. So I hear it's a rumor on the internet. Everything's real on the internet. But no, there's a lot of stuff out there. Even just recently, they uncovered this 4 foot, approximately 3.5, 4 foot tall person that has ancient DNA, but also modern DNA, and they're about 4 feet tall. It's a new type of human. Elves. You think about that. The elves, the small green people. Well, you talk to the natives, they'll tell you about the small people. And then you look at these crazy caverns and these areas of maybe 4 feet tall, these rooms that are 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet tall. So why would they do that? If it's a regular sized person, I'm just asking my question. Why would a regular sized person spend so much time to build a cavern that's 4 feet tall?
Well, maybe they put the kids in there during the day and locked them in there and then went out hunting.
Is that what you would do? I doubt that's what they did. I mean,
Put little kids in there and go out. Right, a little daycare center.
that's a big daycare center. Where's the adult houses? You know what I mean? Were they just staying in teepees? They're putting their kids. Yeah, we'll put them there in the cave. They'll be good. We'll see in a little bit. You got internet. Oh wait, what's that?
Is it soft rock or it has to be?
I don't know exactly. I could ask Diamond. That's a great.
Looks like it's got soft edges, like it was
Right, like you could
water or something or sand.
like spray that. Like maybe it was some type of water technology. That's a good, because there's all those water areas that got water that flows in specific places. And also, if you go to Mesa Verde has these cliff dwellings, and there's a place called the Sun Tower. And they say they can't explain the Sun Tower and why it's aligned the way that it is. And on the very top, it looks like it had this water, where it was collecting water, and it was used as some type of not only collection, but an energy source of some sort. So I wouldn't be surprised if the natives knew how to use frequencies similar to the gentleman did at Coral Castle that weighed about 90 pounds, and he was moving, multi-ton rocks in specific places. And somebody saw him. They said he was just like, So you're either tapping into this etheric field somehow, and the mainstream science has this feeling that we need to, go out and buy a chainsaw or something to blow this up, TNT, but they were using some type of different technology. But like, look at this right here. These are steps. These look like they're steps right here. And then you can see the comparison. There's Diamond, and then there's these entrances. Well, I mean,
Keep them out of the sun from baking in the sun.
I guess I don't really see the reason for that. I think they'd be more worried about themselves than the animals. But look at some of these, like cubby, like they put something specifically. Everything that's in there is there for a specific reason at a particular location, and it's at least 12,000 years old. It could be a lot older than that. You'll notice this one. I don't know if I can move this up a little bit. No. So these are. Let me see if I can find some more pictures that I'd like to share with you on this. Okay, right here. Look at that. So Diamond's duck in here, and then you can see this one's like for a person. It's kind of shaped like a person. So that's one. This is one that I wanted to share with you. The next thing that I wanted to go into, let me pull this one up right here. The petroglyphs. Okay, this is in Utah, a place called Sago Canyon. Now, once again, you'll notice this is a man.
Yeah.
Make it very clear that that's a guy, that's a dude. He's excited. And then he's got some kind of like antenna thing right there. Okay. And then look at this opening. Like, what is that? It almost looks like a gray. Now, this could be what they were seeing in the heavens. There are some similar plasma discharges that you can get duplicates and stuff. And it could be, but it almost looks like this ant guy is this is some type of opening, some type of wormhole or Stargate or something where they're like, yes, come in, we're holding you. They're coming in. Or he's showing what they're seeing in the heavens where there's these giant plasma bolts or, solar flares or something going on. But clearly it doesn't look like a regular man but it does look like a man. But you can see right there with the antenna setup going. So this is weird. This is a place called Sago Canyon. And I want to show you some more. It almost looks like Noah's Ark in a second here. Let's go back here to photos. No, we'll go back to these right here. This is fine. Oh, some ark was found. I don't know if it was Noah's Ark or not. But so also, people came out and they carved a lot of these, they chiseled a lot of these older petroglyphs off. So now, like these are newer petroglyphs. So for some reason, a lot of this stuff was suppressed here. All right. Now this one, I like this one. Let me show you this one right here. These are the plasma bolts. This is Sego Canyon. These plasma bolts they're showing. Now here's what's scary. 700 years ago, there was a huge event that happened that took out the large part of the population 700 years ago. And look at how much we've rebuilt in 700 years. We've got verification of that. It was approximately 770 AD. There was a huge Carrington type event that took people back to the Dark Ages. And what we're looking at right here is verification of that. But what gets weird, now we're going to get into the weird stuff. I want to show you some of these petroglyphs of what looks like robots, what looks like people. Like I like this one. That's me. With hair, yeah. And this is not that long ago, but look at this dude right here. Look at this antenna system thing. It looks like there's some kind of antenna set up on the top. And then you've got these other beings right here. And you could say they're tribal people. They're just putting, horns on their heads and they're dancing around and stuff like that, trying to get some type of energy going on or something. But this guy to me looks like somebody straight up out of Return of the Jedi, like one of the red Siths that's like, he's gonna pull out some lightsaber. And then you got this guy that's got some kind of antenna system, Mohawk system. I don't know what that is. And there's something here, but here's where it gets really interesting. Let me show you. I've got another one where you can see two regular sized people right here. There's two regular sized people right here, and these guys are dwarfing. So why are they doing that? Why are they showing us the difference like that? What does that actually mean? This is in Sego Canyon. Here we go. This is a better one. So right here. This is Adam and Eve. This is, or Bill and Mary. This is two people right here. So look at the size comparison. And then it's like you got some kind of robotic thing. And then I've read through the secret teachings via Blavatsky, the Nag Hammadi scriptures. I've read through multiple Sumerian tablets, read the Holy Bible from front to back. I've read the Hebrew version, bits and pieces of it. And what I feel they're showing here is something where this guy over here is literally some type of robot, and they were coming down helping humanity. And I think that they're showing that right here, that there's no malintent. So the Anunnaki, who are the Anunnaki? Well, according to the Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki are connected to the planets. Does that mean the Anunnaki are the planets? Or does that mean that they hijacked it? Like they got this power, they had these technologies, so they went back, they rewrote scriptures, they said, we're gods, we're Neptune, I'm Mercury. I don't know. But I think that this right here is a clear depiction of something that isn't us. Does it mean they're not? Does it mean they're alien? I guess in that sense. But they could be an ancient civilization that survived a cataclysm and they came back to help us out. What do you guys think about these petroglyphs? Like, what do you think about this guy right here that's got this weird looking straight up antenna system? These are thousands of years old. Do you think they were just tripping on peyote? Like, oh man, let's write up an Android real quick. That's what's in my mind. Virtual reality. The internet.
The one in the middle looks bird-like. Yeah.
Guard-like? Bird-like.
Yeah.
Oh, well, speaking of bird-like, the Ajiji, you can look at the Ajiji. That goes back in ancient Babylon. You can read the creation tablets that talks about the Ajiji being part of our structure, of our DNA makeup, that one of them was actually sacrificed in order to make the first human. If you read the seven tablets of creation, I'm getting a little excited here.
Yeah.
7 tablets of creation, you can clearly understand where I'm coming from because it's describing exactly that. They took the Ajiji, they sacrificed them to make humans. And what was the question?
As it wasn't the epic of Gilgamesh about, wasn't his helper like a robot? Wasn't he very robot-like?
It was robot-like? That's a great question. I mean, but then I also think that these stories that we're reading about the Anunnaki, a lot of it's mixing astral theology as well. So these people kind of, they took the deity, they took the form of this planet, and now that they're dead and they're in the spirit world, they're literally getting energy from us by saying they're God, they're Mercury, they're Venus. It's what the Egyptians did. It's what the ancient pharaohs did. They would put these hieroglyphics in their tombs. And like the Book of the Dead was very important to them. And those that had money would do everything they could to make sure that they could preserve their body. Why were they preserving their body 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago? What did they know then? What do you think?
It's like now there are people putting their bodies in these
freezer. These.
Yeah, cryogenics.
So I mean, we're kind of.
If they could make pyramids 5,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago, however old the Great Pyramid of Giza is, if they could do that, and you tell me they couldn't do these other things, like, oh yeah, man, that they were just rocks and slaves. That's how we made it. But just to get the materials, they had to get the materials from around the world. I mean, we couldn't do that now. If you go to Baalbek and you look at the structures out there, there is no way we could even pick them up. And for them, it was nothing. I mean, there's skeletal remains of giants. We can see, we can actually go into Peru and Mexico and other places and see these giants for yourself. Are you going to see the biggest ones? Probably not. Do you have a question?
Just an observation. What if they were drawing in perspective and the little people you're seeing are actually people following people following?
Hey, it absolutely could be. It could. To me, I don't think that's the case because I've seen so many and I'll just give you my, and I appreciate that. I really do. And you could be right. You absolutely, I mean, these are just theories of mine. I wasn't there. And if I was, I don't remember it. It would have been in another lifetime anyway. I have to figure out how to unlock the DNA. And wouldn't that be cool if you could just take your DNA and you're like, yes, who was I? And then it told you all right. So, and that would be based with the stars and the astrological charts, etc. But the reason I don't feel that is because why are their shapes so different? How did they get so close to that robotic shape and design? And why do these guys look like they've got some kind of spacesuits or antenna systems or something, and they're normal? These are the questions that I have. Yes.
It might just be their armor or technology, and they're a little dweeb inside of it.
Yeah, it could be. Like me, I'm in there. I'm like, yeah, it's like, I'm a big robot. It's funny because I met Jay Campbell, nice guy. He's on YouTube, and I'm not a very big guy, and I met Jay. I'm like, hey Jay, how you doing? And he's like, you look bigger on the internet, Rex. So it's pretty incredible what you can do with the internet. So everything's real on the internet. So this right here, what do y'all think these are? When you see these, like, okay, you're seeing horns and like this big body, and what do you see there?
Cow people. Ticks.
Cow people, ticks. Nice. Cow people, ticks. Cow people and ticks.
I don't know.
They're like, okay.
Ticks on cow people.
Yeah, the Sankawi cow people. They lived back about 45,000 BC. They got tired of being milked. They hold all their milk in there. These are plasma bolts. They saw these in the heavens. You can duplicate. You can actually look at like a big lightning storm and see the exact same thing. So right here, I think we're looking at what they were seeing in the heavens, plasma stuff going on. And they're like, whoa, what is that? We got to write that down. So they're writing everything down. They're freaking out. And I think a lot of the gods are connected to what they saw in the heavens. Because you can look at petroglyphs that look very similar to what you would see in Egypt, of like birds coming out of people's heads and stuff like that. Well, now imagine they're seeing that in the heavens, and they're seeing like this plasma coming out of somebody's head, but it's not a person, but it looks like a person. So they're writing it down and they're freaking out. I mean, I'd freak out if I looked outside and I saw some big giant Medusa thing go freak me out, right? So I think that's what they were writing down. I think this is a part of an event that happened, whether it's 700 years ago or 7,000 years ago, I don't know. But this was clearly something that caused some major catastrophes, and that's what they're showing here. So I think that the gods, the Anunnaki, are an actual, or people. I think they're just people that are highly advanced, highly technologically advanced, that were very large, giant-like. They hijack things with their technologies, and we're reading about them now, and they found a way to make themselves gods and connect themselves to the planets. So they are absorbing that information at a different vibrational frequency, not in the physical realm, if that makes sense. And if you want to experience that, read the Book of the Dead. If you read the Book of the Dead, it's pretty scary, but it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Then you'll start to understand the somatics and like the different realms. So if you research Hinduism, and if you research the Baba Chakra, the will of destiny, the will of life, the will of karma, there's multiple realities in that. You're going to have the human realm, the animal realm, the demigod realm, the god realm, and all these different things that are connected to karma. But you can also read through other scriptures that have similarities, and wow, I got to take a breath here for a second. It's getting pretty deep. So if you read through that, you'll understand that whether you're dead or alive, you're alive at some form. This physical body it's a suit. We're spiritual beings and experiencing physical reality. So they knew that. So they wanted to preserve their lifespan.
They wanted to be, I think they knew about cloning. I really do. I think they knew that they could get cloned in the future. They had that thought. They're in the spirit world. They're getting all this information, all this knowledge, and all this data. And then plus people are worshiping them, giving them more energy and feeding them. And then they get reincarnated back into their own body. That reminds me of when Inanna descended into the netherworld, ancient Sumerian tablet. Now, it's another thing about Christianity, which I have great respect for. The story of Jesus being reincarnated has been talked about for thousands of years prior to that. And Inanna was one of those that was reincarnated. And Inanna was married to Dumazud, which is most likely the representation of Jesus now. And if you understand Easter was the day that Ishtar, Inanna, which was with Dumazud, which might be a representation of Jesus, was reincarnated, and she gave up Dumazud to the demons so that she could be reincarnated. I don't know if you're following me on that, but basically people think that Easter is the belief of Jesus being resurrected. It's actually the belief of Inanna being resurrected and giving Jesus to the netherworld. But that's also connected to the planets and the stars. So then you have to ask yourself, which came first? Did we come first or did they come first? Who made who? Were we all here at once? What's the purpose? So astrotheology, Akhenaten, Pharaoh Akhenaten was so into astrotheology that it was like he was marrying his own family and such, because it was connected to Mercury going from male to female aspect ratios. When we were seeing that at one point in time, tens of thousands of years ago, and you look at the planets and the stars, and they connect to the royalty here on earth. And then you can read the Sumerian king list, and it says the kingship was descended from heaven. The first king was Alulim, which is Adam in the Bible, and it's all interconnected. There's just different stories and different mechanisms to tell a story from cultures, because you can have an entire lexicon of information in just one name. You can have a lexicon of information in the name Moses. That means something. Ziusudra was Noah. That means something in a different culture. That's the tones, the sounds, and then you can connect that to the electric universe and the possibility of the original Hebrew alphabet connected to the plasma events and the plasma characters that they were seeing in the heavens. So it's all interconnected. Yeah, you have a question?
Since you've read so many texts, is there anywhere in any of those texts where it talks about why we lose our memory when we're reincarnated and we come back to the cell?
Why we lose our...
forget everything? Is there anything you can think of that?
Yeah, and I could give you a few scenarios. For some, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
What if you had a bad life before? You went through a lot of chaos and trials and tribulations. You saw bad things. It's like a fresh start. But also, I've heard it's a rechargeable battery aspect. So you're in this system. Oh, there's the light. You're seeing the light. You die physically. They're like, go to the light, go to the light, go to the light. And so you're going to the light, and you're like, yeah, I'm almost there, I'm almost there, I'm almost there. And the next thing you know, woo, you wake back up, and it's you're starting all over again. It's like the whole system. It's all connected. And then you can get into Saturn being Satan, being the adversary. Doesn't mean it's evil with horns. It's the adversary to the sun. Because if you understand the electric universe hypothesis, how 10, 15, 20,000 years ago, maybe further, Saturn was our sun. Saturn was what we looked at in the sky as the sun. That's what the ancestors worshipped. These catastrophes happened. Venus, a.k.a. Isis, a.k.a. Ishtar, a.k.a. Inanna, a.k.a. Lucifer, that's talked about in the Bible, is Venus. So when Venus was somehow captured by the sun and it did a flyby, it wiped out a large portion of the planet. A bunch of people died. That was pretty bad for them. They're like, oh, that's Lucifer. That's you suffer. Think about all the people that died thousands of years ago. Now, a lot of people think that's Planet X. It's Venus. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying there isn't a Planet X, but at that point, Planet X was Venus that caused the catastrophes. So I feel that when you're studying the gods, you are studying the planets. The original gods are the planets. And I don't think that means the divine creator or the great spirit. I do believe in a divine creator and a great spirit, but I feel that the religious texts that you read and that I read are talking about the planets. And it's like this mechanism. It's like this matrix blueprint where they're showing you the keys. You just have to, it's cryptic. Matter of fact, check this out. I got this today from a gal that is she's a pastor. She's like a hippie pastor. And she's she's awesome. And she busted out all these cards. And she said, pick one of these cards. One of these cards is for you. They're all different cards. It's like, pick a card, any card, pick a card. So I picked a card. And I thought this was pretty cool. Let me read this card to you. Okay. And Jesus said unto you, it is a given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God, but unto them that are without. All these things are done in parables. What are we just talking about? Parables. It's cryptic. That seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand. So that's Mark 4:11-12. And I thought that was perfect for what I've been talking about during this presentation, the last presentation I did yesterday. It's all cryptic. You can get all the information in the Bible, it's there, but they're taking these in parables. They're putting it in parables, so you have to understand it. And the further you evolve and the more you understand you are more than your physical body, and you can research these things without it being, I was under that Christian mindset where if I hadn't had a body experience once that I didn't mean to, and it scared me because I thought a demon was going to possess me, right? That's the way that my mind thought. And then I realized I wasn't going to get possessed by a demon. It was actually a beautiful experience, and I learned how to do it. But I had to break out of that mindset of thinking it was evil or thinking that something evil was going to take me over. So I feel, once again, that if you want to understand the matrix and the system and the Anunnaki and the gods, that you need to understand how it all goes back to the planets. Because each planet represents some type of characteristic. And then you can get into the 7 chakras. And then you get into the 7 days of the week. And then you can get into the Nag Hammadi scriptures that talk about the 365 demons that made Adam. There's actually 365 demons and angels. Now think about that number 365. That's the days in the year. They're talking about this system of control. And then, according to the Nag Hammadi scriptures, the Gnostics believed that the mother of all demons was named Matter. So they're basically saying they believe that the human body was an evil thing and that you were born into this box or this shell and you were tricked to get in there by Yaldabaoth, which is very similar if you read Yaldabaoth. If you've read the Nag Hammadi scriptures, Yaldabaoth says that he is the only God and he's a jealous God. Sounds very similar to the God in the Old Testament. Now, if you read the Old Testament and the New Testament, how come God has all these different personalities? Like he's really happy in one minute, and then he's really upset another. It's like, wow, you want me to kill every man, woman, and child because they're of a different tribe? Oh, yeah, they're the Nephilim. They're having sex with everybody, and I don't want to hear it. That's kind of what it says in the Bible. So, I mean, it's more detailed than that. But I'm like, wow, that God's pissed, man. What's going on with that? But then when you understand about the Anunnaki and you read the story of Enlil and you read the story of the council, these stories that were written before the Old Testament, before Genesis, clearly proven, it talks about how they decided to wipe out their creation because it was getting out of control. So they looked at us like we look at AI. Like we build an algorithm to go do work for us, and then it starts, sending dirty pictures that it makes up to another algorithm on Twitter or something. You know what I mean? It starts going crazy. It starts getting on my head. I'm like, no, you can't do that. Turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. So I think that whoever manipulated us thousands of years ago, the Anunnaki, I think they had some type of purpose, and they saw that we were getting out of control, getting too smart, and they're like, no, we can't let this happen. It's the same things talked about in the Nag Hammadi scriptures, the secret book of John. They wanted to suppress Adam after they made him because they made him better than they were. The Vatican tried to destroy these scriptures. They tried to wipe them out. They tried to get rid of them. First of all, I am not saying anything bad about any religious organization. I do find it fascinating that the Vatican has a giant snake head as basically the worship room. And hey, snakes are cool, but they make it look like it's okay. How do I put this? You're worshiping the sun. You're worshiping the sun. Look at the courtyard in the Vatican. It's all connected to the sun. The Son, Jesus, the only way through me is through the only way to the Father is through me. That's what Jesus says. He's talking about the sun in our solar system. Now think about this. Remember how Satan gets cast down? Oh, Lucifer, the eastern star, gets cast down from heaven. They're talking about Venus when it did that flyby. Now, if you get into the Mayan traditions, and I think the Jubilee 52 years or 50 years? 50. That's connected to Venus because it did a flyby 50 years after the first time, and people were freaking out. They didn't want it to do it again, so they're ripping hearts out of people, hoping that by appeasing the gods, like the Mayans, for example. Oh yeah, let's rip their heart out. That's connected to Venus, the Eastern Star. So does that mean that they also have a micro form, like a macro micro, as above, so below? I would think that there is a physical representation of each deity of that form if they want to. Have you heard this theory before? We are in a symbiotic relationship that disguises itself as an extraterrestrial invasion so as not to alarm us. Anybody heard that? You've heard it. Terrence McKenna. Now, how does that not freak you out? Think about that. Something so interesting, it's disguising itself as an extraterrestrial invasion so as not to alarm us. How does that not freak you out? Like, what is it, man? What's so scary that it's like, oh, I'm an alien. I'm gonna abduct you. There's something going on there. And somebody brought up mushrooms or something a minute ago. I had an experience in Chimney Rock where a shamanic experience, and I did have a babysitter to watch over me. But I took some of these very powerful mushrooms, and it's been 10, 15 years since I've done it before. And I was out there in Chimney Rock, and I'm seeing like the clouds are turning into these fractals, and it's almost like the clouds were mocking me. I could see energy in the clouds, and I was realizing at that point how small we were, and how this whole system. You think you're big, man. Look up at the sky. You look at Saturn with the telescope, and it looks small, but it's so massive. Obviously, that energy is connected to us, and there's so much we don't see. We only see 0.01% of the electromagnetic light spectrum. We filter out 50% of that. So you start talking to people about stuff that's a little bit different, that doesn't jive with them, and it upsets them. So the first thing they do is denial. They'll get mad at you. They'll call you crazy. They'll call you a conspiracy theorist. They'll unsubscribe from your channel. And they'll think about it for a little bit, and they'll come back and they'll resubscribe, and then you'll upset them again, and they'll do it again. And then finally they'll just think, yeah, I need to think for myself. Just because I've been taught something by somebody else at another time doesn't make it true. Cross-reference everything. Be the change you want to see. I mean, do what's important to you, and don't let anything get in your way. I mean, be who you are. What's your purpose? What's your purpose in life? And I think that that's why the Anunnaki, or whatever they're called, I like to call them the MFers. Call them the MFers, money funders, because they seem to have something. They're scared about something. If they weren't, the world would be a lot different. We wouldn't be driving cars that we put gasoline into. I don't think the medical system would be the way that it is. I don't think they would force feed you a shot that you didn't want to take if it's supposed to work anyway. As a vaccine is an example. If the vaccines work so good, I'm not saying I'm pro or against vaccines, but if they work so good, why you got one? Why do I need one? They are forcing people to get vaccines. So my question is, can you prove to me that it's not going to hurt me? Well, ask a doctor to sign a waiver when they give you a vaccine that says no side effects. They will not do it. At least they didn't for me. And then you start to look at the ingredients that are in there, start to look at the thimerosal. That's the good stuff. Then you start to read this stuff called Triton X1000, which is a heavy-duty cleaner that Dow Chemical owns. You're like, why are they putting that in there? And the doctors will say, oh, it's just a little bit. It's just to give you a little immune response, so you'll be safe and you'll be protected. I feel, my personal belief is the GMOs, the way things are so twisted and out of whack, is because if we were living in a system that was actually designed to help each other and designed to work, like a medical system that was designed to work, like not here's another Band-Aid, but it's got 10 side effects. Here, let me give you 5 other things. My father-in-law died. He was on, 7 drugs? Gosh, I'm getting a little emotional here. My father-in-law would have been healthy as an ox until the day he died. He was on 7 drugs. He was out there. Oh yeah, take this. Oh yeah. Oh, don't exercise. You're okay. We'll give you a drug for that. It's okay. Well, he died because his organs failed. And they said, oh yeah, it took him 2 weeks. And they said it was hepatitis 2 weeks later. It took him 2 weeks to figure that out. That's baloney. I think that the drugs causes this is my opinion. I think that the drugs causes organs to fail, and he died. And they had to come up with an excuse. Oh yeah, this is my opinion. I can't prove it, but I can tell you this. One of the drugs he was on had a black label warning on it. If anybody's on drugs that has a black label warning on it, you may want to see if there's other options. I'm not a doctor, but I would be a little bit concerned if I had a black label warning on my pharmaceutical drugs. So with all of that being said, I think that there is something out there that clearly does not want us to reach our fullest potential. But at the same time, I think there's something out there that's just as powerful and that's on the opposite side of the spectrum that is good. Because if it wasn't, I don't think we'd be here. I mean, clearly we can go to $7 and drink a crappy coffee. We're still in a reasonably healthy situation. Things are pretty good. And it's interesting that they're as good as they are, because if you look at places like California, there should have been a major earthquake, maybe over the past 50 years, and it hasn't happened. We've got 462 nuclear reactors around the world. And yeah, some of them leaked. Fukushima was terrible, but they're still there. We're still breathing. So, 5G's coming out, 4G's out, 3G's out. Pretty soon it's going to be, 7,000 G, and people are just like, oh yeah, plug me in. Okay, download the whole internet. Oh, I got cancer too. Shit. So, they're clear cutting for us to put up 5G. How is that healthy? How is that good for you? I don't understand it. I'm trying to figure this out. How is it good for you every year to put more thimerosal in your bloodstream, directly bypassing all the immune system, going right into your blood? How is that good for you? I don't understand it. I just ask these questions, but that makes me a conspiracy theorist for asking questions. So that's why I bought a tinfoil hat
Yeah.
that literally blocks 5G. So there you go. Thanks. Right on. Got a little upset there. Any questions? Anything? Yes.
Have you ever heard about the Egyptians doing mummification to avoid the reincarnation process? The escape and
Ooh.
all of that?
No, but that's interesting. That would make sense
The realm on the other side.
because they're
without being drawn back.
because their body's it's not going back into Earth. So it's so preserved that it's stuck. It's in a cube or something. So does it burial to me? I don't want to have my body, I have a bunch of chemicals in my body to be buried in the ground, because I feel at some quantum level, my body is connected to my spirit, and I want it to go back into the earth and go back to the great source. When it's my turn to come back, I'll come back. But that's just my personal belief. So that's an interesting thing. Now, there are these Egyptian hieroglyphics that show these snakes that are supposed to mean reincarnation, and you'll see the cat cutting the snake. And maybe that's why they would do that. But I feel the reason they do that is because they did want it for actually reincarnation purposes. I felt they wanted to go back to the nether world, into the spirit world, get all this data, bring it in, and then come back into their body, literally be superhumans. And Inanna, the descent, Inanna's descent to the netherworld talks about that, where Inanna decides to go to the netherworld because she's got all of her powers and all of her riches and everything she wants up here. So she goes to the netherworld. She has to give up her 7 garments of protection. And then she asked, okay, so when she went down there, before she goes down there, she says, ask Enlil to come get me if I'm still down here. Enlil said no. She goes, ask Enki to come get me. So Enki made these little, I don't know what, some type of genetic stuff, but they're described as demons in the tablet. And these demons go out and get Inanna and bring her back. But one thing that's interesting is Enlil says, no, once you go to that other side, you can't come back because you've obtained knowledge that you're not supposed to bring back. So I'm thinking these Egyptians are finding the pharaohs that had lots of money and lots of power, wanted to mummify their body, go into the netherworld, get that information, bring it back, and be almost like gods. That's what I think they thought. And I'm sure there are people that wanted to get rid of the reincarnation cycle, but I also feel that what I'm discussing in that reference would make more sense. But you could be right. Yes.
The 7 garments that you just mentioned, do you think that could be the layers of the colors of the rainbow in the rainbow garment?
It could be. It could also be describing the planets, and it could be describing when Venus did that flyby. Because also, does everybody know, or does anybody in here know who On or Anu is? Yeah, the king of the Anunnaki. The first Anunnaki, Anu, is also Uranus. Yes, but he's also the father of the Anunnaki. Well, he's also the greatest of the Anunnaki. Well, there's a tablet that describes how Inanna gets the power from Anu. So she takes the power from Anu and she becomes the greatest of them all. And now I'm thinking in my mind, Venus doing this flyby, and these planets are just going, they're getting all out of whack and they're getting destroyed. And then Venus comes back, and that's kind of the same description. It's kind of connected there. Yeah.
What about, in the 365 ages of Venus created man? Wasn't it when the woman was created afterwards that took the spark from Enki?
Nope. It was actually Adam that took the spark. And what you're talking about is Yaldabaoth is the chief archon in the Nag Hammadi scriptures. Some people think that Yaldabaoth could be Yahweh. Some people think that Yaldabaoth could also be Enki. But to make a long story short, in the secret book of John, Yaldabaoth creates Adam. He then breathes the spark of his life on accident into Adam. And that's when they realized, now we've done it. Adam's greater than we are. So that's what you're talking about. Let me see. Any other questions? I get some other images here I can show you. Yes, you can go to Oxford University. If you Google search Oxford Sumerian tablets, it's ECTSI is the website. And you can read through the different tablets that have been translated: Enki, Enlil, Inanna, Dumazid. And there's several stories of flood stories. One flood story I've been able to date back to 29,600 years. Yeah. The Sumerian king list goes back over 270,000 years.
How long did you just say? The longest translation, what did you just say?
many years?
Okay, so the Sumerian king list goes back over 270,000 years. The first king was Elulim, which is connected to Adam in the Old Testament. I think he ruled for 36,000 years. Now, here's another thing that's interesting. If you look into the electric universe and the possibility of Saturn at one point being our star, if there was some type of ultraviolet protective atmospheric conditions, we would have longer lifespans. We would have healthier lifespans. And also you wouldn't have a day and night. And there's several tablets as well in the Oxford stories that describe when Inanna went to battle with the Irada civilization, which once again, you can date back about 25,000 years, 30,000 years. You can date that to the 29,000 year timeline of the flood. Well, at that point in time, Inanna left the Irada civilization for the next civilization. The Irada civilization falls. They were the great builders. And that's also describing the flood that I just shared with you approximately 25 to 30,000 years ago. Nice. Yeah. Hello. You have a question? I was stretching. She's like, right on. And I'll show you a few more images. If you have some questions, go ahead. Feel free to ask.
Where did the Egyptian gods fit into this, like Ra?
Okay, so a lot of people think that the Egyptian god Ra was actually Saturn.
Oh.
And then also think about this. Venus, Isis with the horns and the red star in between. That's what our ancestors would have seen if Venus was doing a flyby. When I say flyby, I don't mean like, a mile away. I'm talking still millions and millions and millions of miles away, but it's so massive. It's, these plasma bullets are going to be connected. I'm sure you've heard about the Mars, the Canyon of Mars, and also the Grand Canyon here being created from one giant lightning bolt, which could have been connected to Venus, the rod of God, Thor, the great hammer. It was pretty. So really, the whole thing about like Satan and Saturn, that thing used to trip me out. And there could be like dudes with red horns that are really evil, and I'm not saying they're not, but Satan means adversary. And if you look at the electric universe, when Saturn used to be the sun, and we didn't see the sun like we see now, and then these cataclysms happen, now we see the sun the way that we see the sun. We see Saturn the way that we see Saturn. It's the adversary to the sun. It's the opposite. So it's like this whole system is a control grid that keeps us like reincarnating batteries in a sense. But then people say, hey, man, how do I get out? And I'm like, well, do you really want to get out? What's it like on the other side? It could be even scarier. You know what I mean? Who knows? So when I say out of this matrix per se, but the only way out of the matrix, according to the ancient Hindu tradition, is in the human realm. So it's all based on karma. So if let's say you're a bad person, next life, you may come back as an animal. If you're real bad, you may end up in the wandering ghost realm. If you're real bad, you may end up in the hell realm. But then you can like redeem yourself. And the highest realm is the Deva realm, which is the God realm. It's the top of the will. But you're still stuck in the will, and you're still stuck underneath like this giant demonic force. And the only way out of this will is in the human realm, which is interesting because the human realm is still that duality. And then you can research the triarch. And most of these ancient buildings, which could go all the way back to Atlantis and the Anunnaki, have a left-right door, which are the same size, then a very large door in the center, which could be the yin and the yang merging, the duality merging. Maybe that's our purpose, is finding that balance. Maybe we're supposed to go through the trials and tribulations and deal with all this to get to that higher level. That's the way I've been looking at it. We could be optimistic about it or not. So I think it's our mind that really dictates our futures. And so thanks. I appreciate it. You're all awesome. Be the change you want to see. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Oh, all right. So now we're going to go down to the main lobby area. Yeah. What did you call that? The atrium? Yeah. Nice. Oh, man. Great. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. What's your name? Matt? Yeah. Good to meet you, Matt. Oh, cool. Right on.
Got one question
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Hey. Okay.
I've been questioning something about it
Right.
while I was here this weekend.
What's up?
Do you think there's two different kinds of species of humans?
Yeah. Why not? I think there's more than two.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
What about
RH negative? That we can ask you
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, there's different. I mean, you got more copper in your blood, more paranormal activities, there's all sorts. And you can pick them out. You like, oh yeah, that person's got RH negative. Yeah, I know you can. You can pick them out like they're not. If you've got RH negative blood.
So, do you think I have RH negative blood?
I think you already told me you did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you already told me you did.
I didn't know if I did.
Yeah, but Enki.
But I was
I
wondering.
think you're like Enki's project. The RH negative thing. I think it's like there's some special genetics in there that he kind of like added. And so that like a lot of people have more, like a lot of my very good friends that like family that I trust with my life. They've told me their RH Megan, and they've told me stories that are scarier than
Yeah,
like you're talking. Wow, like
yeah, I
and then,
have some
and
of
then their
those
mom will
too.
confirm, and then the sister, and it's like everybody's confirming.
Yeah,
it, it's-
and I'm getting.
oh, I gotta walk everybody.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I gotta walk everybody to the.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for you, boss.
Rex, you blew my mind.
I did.
Gosh. We're gonna hang out. Give me a hug, and a high five, and everything. I can't wait to get to know you. Oh,
Right on.
I'm electrified right now.
Nice. I felt good. I felt.
I am.
She was down. She was hit you.
There you go, brother.
Awesome.
420 TV.
Guess I'll just close my eyes.
yourself, for your cap, for your health. More important than Louis Vuitton. Only time and stay woke. Oh, it's all, it's all. Stay woke. Oh, stay
Econ 2019.
Yeah.